Welcome back to the Meebits podcast. I'm really excited to be here today with one of our recently announced partners, Think Agents. They're building something incredible in the decentralized AI space. Just like you, we have a lot of questions for them, just basic questions. Want to get a good understanding of what they're building, why it's important, and how excited we are to bring Meebits into the fold. So, Mikey, Felix, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having us.
Pleasure.
So let's jump right into it. In your own words, how would you describe Think Agents?
Yeah. So our world's obviously changing right now. And like, I go back to when I was in college and the iPhone hadn't come out yet. And I remember imagining this idea that it's like, I've got all these devices. I've got my MP3 player and I've got my phone and I've got my key and I've got, a wallet that's this thick. And back in the day, that's kind of what just life was like. All of a sudden, a mobile device comes and we kind of reorganize our lives around it because it allows us to bring all of our digital connections to where we're at. It just kind of changes the whole shape of life. AI agents are that, except times 1,000. So instead of it just being a phone that gives me like a portal to the internet, it's now like I have a personal assistant, a friend, a child, a professional that's able to do things. But we kind of have this problem with, well, all the big companies are hiring these agents and they're replacing jobs with them and they're doing X, Y, and Z thing. And they want you to come join their AI and they want you to give your data to their AI and they want you to pay rent to their AI. They basically want to create a world in which they can be like the digital feudal lords over our lives, right? And like we've seen a lot of things go that direction, from the social media that addicts us to things, that sort of thing. What we're looking at is, how do we use these Web3 tools, the same tools that let us build beautiful collections, to organize communities, to rebuild the financial markets? And how do we use like an NFT to be like your user account, right? So that I can own my own intelligence literally, because I can hold an NFT and that NFT encrypts my data. That NFT gives me access to, like, let's say a Meebits body that I have so that I can go play it in the other side or in Futureverse or in some other game, any kind of game, right? That it gives me basically like a provable on-chain way to say, this is my agent, I own it, it has these assets, and now I've got an agent working for me instead of me working for other agents. Does that make sense?
It does. I do definitely want to double click on it, maybe just kind of bring it back a little bit more basic. So what you're saying is, so today, right, we use ChatGPT. To your point about the iPhone, right, we went from like flip phones and all kind of things. I had a Nextel for a while, which I missed. I
Yeah.
actually missed my Nextel. But then iPhone came out, everything was in your pocket, and so it just became a way of life pretty much. And now with like ChatGPT, I can already do that. So what is the big difference here? Why is it important that it's not that and it's this?
Yeah, so let's look at social media specifically then, right? Like, imagine if when you first got your first Facebook account or MySpace account, whatever that thing was, imagine if you could have bought an NFT of that. And the data that you're putting out on these social networks, imagine that it's coming from your computer and it's not Facebook that owns all of your photos. And when you make a connection with somebody, you're actually like wallet to wallet connecting with them, not connecting on their system. So everything becomes portable. And just imagine how much different our lives would be if social media was something we owned. And when advertisements go out for social media, we get a small cut of it. It's personalized to us. We can keep our data private. Like, our kids' faces don't belong to Meta at that point in time. Like, if we had gone down that path, I think our society would look really different. I think our politics wouldn't be so chaotic and fighting. Like, there's just all kinds of things that happen when people give up their individual liberty in trade for being able to get like something that's fun for a while. And we kind of don't notice it until all of a sudden we're like, oh shit, we don't have democracy anymore. Or, oh shit, I don't have access to my personal checking account anymore. I can't take $3,000 out without giving the bank a reason why. Right? Like, these are the kinds of things that happen when we build our lives on somebody else's system that we rent from. Or, hey, I don't get to keep my apartment or my house next year because I'm living on rented land. Right? Like, AI is going to be at least as important, way more important than social media or your mobile account or even you renting your own house, because it's like, most of us make our money somehow with our mind, right? And it is our ability to own our intelligence that gives us the optionality in the future to keep making new decisions. And I see the group of Web3 early adopters as being the people that can actually say, no, I'm going to own my intelligence. And then as we watch the economy of the people that rented their intelligence and the economy of the people who own it diverge, I think you're going to see that the people who take ownership of their lives are going to be in a much better spot than those who just kind of go with the status quo.
I see. I just want to say that I make my money with this beautiful face. I'm just kidding. Okay, so let's go back. Web to social media, right? I post something to Facebook. My mom likes it. Now Meta owns not only my picture, but kind of like my digital footprint in that interaction. They document I'm sitting in New York, my mom's in Mexico. There must be a connection there, and they use that to mine me and then serve me ads. Um, that's what is happening right now with commercial AI. Is that my understanding correctly?
Correct. Yeah. So, and it's even more insidious though, because like, you go to Google and you search for something and it says like ad, right? But like these LLMs are starting to get, there isn't really a word for it yet, but it's kind of the equivalent of uh, public relations meets search engine optimization meets kind of like, uh, and they're actually going in and they're trying to stack these LLMs so that they talk good about their brand. So like if somebody asks for a cookie recipe, let's say, and your company gets put at the top, but you don't even see that, right? So like the biases, like everybody's biased. You've got biases, I have biases. As we start to trust this AI, right? Like, and we're not actually looking for individual authoritative things. All of a sudden, we find out that we're not the customer, we're the product. And the way that these companies actually make money is by selling our eyeballs, our emotions, our clicks to people that are willing to pay the highest dollar. And then all of the algorithms in our lives start to become tuned to keep me connecting and scrolling, clicking and buying.
I see. I remember my first day at Goldman Sachs back many years ago now. Um, the CEO Lloyd Blankfein came in, and it was all like the new starting analysts, and he sat us down, and he asked the room, it was like 200 of us, how does Goldman make money? And people raise their hands, oh, by selling stocks, by selling bonds, by doing currency trades. He's like, yes, partly. The reality is, and he put up a circle. He goes, this is the economy, the financial system. It's a circle of information and capital that goes around, and Goldman sits in the middle, and we just broker that information and that capital. We get to collect the information, keep some money as commission, and that's really why we're the most powerful bank in the world. And that stuck with me because now, as you're saying this, and I think of like decentralized systems, decentralized social and decentralized communities. It's pretty much what's happened is, instead of having those, Goldman's, Metas, ChatGPTs of the world in the middle, monetizing that information flow, we can be those, just managing, let alone monetizing, just managing our privacy, our information, and so on. Is that correct?
Totally, 100%.
Got it. Okay, so we're on the right track here. I think I understand a little bit of what you guys are doing at a big scale. Let's ask, how are you guys doing it? Like, how does it work? What are the main differences? Again, I think everybody's frame of reference, right? Like, it's ChatGPT,
Yeah.
or one of the many, services that's propped up. And to your point, just completely replaced a lot of our daily interactions with the internet. So how are you guys doing? How is it different?
Yeah, so let's just think about the activities that happen when you go to ChatGPT. First of all, you go to a URL, right? Or an app, and you log in. So you create a username and a password. You create a key pair that's on their server, right? So instead of having the key to your own on-chain artifact that's like, this is my user account, you're going to their website, you're creating it behind their firewall. They own your user account. They get to decide when to turn it on, turn it off. Then next up, you come in and you're like, let's say you're using it for work, and you're like, okay, well, here's all my Meebits files. I'm going to give it access to those files. Well, now you've uploaded that information to their servers, and now they can start to train on top of your data and metadata. So now they're starting to learn from just your raw data about you. They're creating personality profiles. They're creating all sorts of things around who you are, how you work. Even the way you type, like the pace at which you type is as unique as your fingerprint. So that then when you have whatever your account that you look at stuff that you don't want your partner to see or whatever, and you type that way, now Meta knows, hey, this is the same one as this one, right? Like there is no privacy anymore because the most intelligent thing on earth is watching you and creating your digital fingerprint wherever you go. Well, now the next step is they're starting to give access to both camera, photos, and your browser. So now this AI is actually watching your finances. They might be watching you put your key in, your private key, to your crypto wallet. They might be watching you, whatever the thing is that you're doing, right? Like this AI now is watching you. It's almost like Santa Claus, or like a fundamentalist God at Sunday school, where it's like this AI is literally watching you, and their whole job is to manipulate your behavior so that you will participate in more interactions with that agent more often. And this is just a place where things go off the rails really fast. And so that's what the status quo is. So if nothing else happens, like your company's going to sign you up for that, your friends are all going to use that. It's going to become the standard. But now you're in a spot where you don't actually have like the advantage of their building it so that you're better off. You start to get into a spot where your skills, your knowledge, your expertise starts to become part of this model that everybody can use. So now that you want to go to the market and you want to maybe you're really great at real estate investment, or you know everything about NFTs, or whatever your skill is that you have now taught that agent how to do it. So that's kind of what the status quo is. What we're proposing is, instead of a username and password, you should have an NFT. And that NFT should also be the thing that authenticates you against like being able to use a large language model, or be able to put your Meebit skin on and go into a video game. It's the thing that allows you to be able to have access to your data in an encrypted way. And so we've basically made two things here. We made the internet spec for it. So like on the internet, you go to something.com, and the browser knows, go to this server, right? So you've got the .com, it points to a server, and then you use a browser to read it. With these agents, what we've essentially done is we've standardized. So instead of a .com, you have your NFT that's like your address. And anybody in the world could, like, if you put your Sergito agent out there, and he's the most fun member of the Meebits community, let's say, and like everybody who's part of the community wants to subscribe to that agent could know these 20 people are all Meebits, these 3 people aren't, they don't get to subscribe. Right. So that's an example of the types of things that can happen. Is your agent becomes something like an app or a website, but it can be a representation of yourself, or really any business or persona that you have. And so what we expect to happen out of this kind of protocol level is that people are building new businesses. So for example, there's a competitive gaming app that's starting to be incubated on top of Think, where people will be able to play games and likely even like stake tokens against each other, so that when they win, there's a winning that takes place. Then there's like a Web3 mid journey. So now the people who have these agents, if like you're using something like mid journey, can have access to that. And then there's like a really big, we're going to wait till we get close to the announcement for this one, but we've got, like, in my opinion, one of the best founders in the world right now, getting ready to create a Web2 banking, Web3 crypto data source, so that you can have an agent that manages all your finances. Right. So these are the types of things that are being incubated in this ecosystem, because like once you have a browser, what do you want to do? Well, when we look at Web 1, once you have a browser, you want to be able to search and find things. You want to be able to buy things. You want to be able to connect with people. And all these things are being incubated from the best projects in Web 3. And they also can interoperate with Web 2, because we built it all around standards.
I see. Okay, so how does it work? I guess the first thing that came to mind is this sounds really really cool.
Yeah.
But if I'm somebody that obviously the Think Agents Mint happened a few weeks ago. I bought a few to
Yeah.
support, but also because I want to be part of the future. Now I have them in my wallet. What's next? How do I access it? How do I get things to work? Where is stuff sitting? Like, is it on Ether? You mentioned the protocol. Yeah, help me put the pieces together.
Yeah, totally. So these agents were minted on Ethereum L1, and that's the place where you want to put an asset that's going to be like permanent, but you're not going to move it a lot, right? So you're gonna have that there, and then that agent is able to authenticate against what's called a mined server. In this case, we incubated kind of the best in class of these, called Souls, that's coming out in June. And Souls acts like it's an application that sits on your computer. If you have a Mac, a PC, or a Linux, you can run it on your computer, and it turns your computer into your own server. So now, instead of having to go to OpenAI's website, everything comes to you, and your data doesn't have to leave your computer, so that you can hold on to it. You can put your health records in there if you want to. You can put your work docs. And you don't have to worry about them going out to somebody unless you say, send this out to somebody. And so a user logs in with their wallet, right? They hit connect, and now their agent is loaded into Souls, and you can use all these tools. So these agents like have advanced planning. They have like basically like a whiteboard that they can use so that you can drop in images and draw things, and you and your agent have a shared workspace essentially. And then we're building a bunch of apps on top of it. So it's kind of like how when you log into your phone, it kind of has the standard apps there, right? But like you're probably going to go in and you're like, these are the 20 apps that I spend most of my time using, and that's the same way this system's going to work. Is that you have kind of like the standard that acts like a private chat GPT that's for you, and then it's extensible into video game systems and 3D systems, into generative image things, into web browsing with your agent, into personal finances. It's basically the new. It's like the new iPhone, right? Like if I'm honest, like the iPhone and Google aren't keeping up with state of the art. Developers that actually can build their own AI are building systems way better than what you can use elsewhere. And now we're making it available to everybody.
Love that. So to put into
Yeah.
my own, oh, go on, please, Felix.
I was going to say, to touch on that, we've got a roadmap that's on our website. I just dropped the link in the chat, and maybe it's worth pulling that up for the podcast. But I'll quickly run down this because this is like a structured breakdown of this year, and we've got more things that Mike hinted at earlier that are going on top of this. But like in Q1 of this year, it was to release the Think Agent standards. And to give a bit of context, we teased that out end of last year in a very sort of soft launch, and we had 20. This is in October. We had 20 companies, I think 22 companies, agree to build to the Think Agent standards. And this is through the Independent AI Institute. Fast forward to February of this year, where we did the official launch of it. We had 50 companies, and we've just ticked over 80 companies now that are all building towards these standards. So that's growing exponentially. 6 months, we went from 20 to 80, and we've got more and more inbound traffic of people from the decentralized AI and Web3 ecosystems that want to work together. And that's, to Mike's point just then, the Apples, the Metas, like these centralized juggernauts, they're like a big cruise ship that they can't pivot and react as quickly. But a bunch of smaller, vibe coding individual devs that are launching these products at breakneck speed. We've got 80 companies working together on a particular standard to unify. We can start to put this together like Lego or Voltron, where there's a home for all of these applications, products, platforms being built. And that's what we're trying to foster. So that officially got kicked off back in February and is scaling beyond our expectations. Testnet launched Q2 Think Agent pre-sale. So we did that towards the end of last month, which exceeded, again, our expectations on that. So we've got a really good cohort. We've got a couple of thousand agents out there. We're close to 1,000 unique holders. And that's going to be our core group of builders and people, curating and developing this ecosystem moving forwards. The next major milestone is a Think Token TGE. So we're weeks away, not months away from that happening. And part of that Think Agent pre-sale and the asset that's still available on Magic Eden right now is part of that pre-sale. So you'll be able to, by holding that asset, you'll be able to claim Think tokens at our TGE. We then have the NFI minting, and an NFI is non-fungible intelligence. So like an NFT, but this is a smart asset. So we've got patents, trademarks, all that kind of stuff around that. And it's what we think, brings intelligence to NFTs. We'll be doing the mint. We'll start on that. We'll be airdropping them to everyone that holds a Think Agent as well, because that was part of the bundle that everyone purchased. We'll then have our mainnet launch. The first platform that drops is Souls, which is the agentic browser. So similar to what Mike talked about, call it the ChatGPT equivalent, where you will actually retain your own data. You'll be connecting your wallet, interacting, etc. And then towards the back end of the year, we have the Think Tank, which is a really unique staking rewards program where if you own one of these Genesis first edition agents, you'll be able to participate in that. What's not on this roadmap that will give you the little bit of the alpha on is the Thinkubator, which is an incubator. And Mike already hinted at one of the founders we're talking to, and we've got a few more in the pipeline. But as tokens launch from these incubated companies, a allocation will go back into the think tank along with existing companies that we're talking to. So if you own one of these first edition agents and you stake your think in the think tank, you will get shared rewards. So you won't just receive your standard emissions. You'll actually get rewards from partnerships, ecosystems, incubated projects. So the idea is to retain this value on the first edition agents for people that supported us basically at the grassroots of this movement. Scaling adoption, continued AI model, marketplace growth, B2B optimized agent app. We've got a big desire to go into the education world, because the last thing we want is people developing educational AI tools and farming the next generation's data, and just you can imagine what they could do with that, like weaponize it from a marketing consumer perspective, let alone political / all the things that we've seen happen with Facebook data. So that's a snapshot of what this year's looking like. And I'll give a little bit of internal alpha. Like, we have an internal True North. It's an internal think strategy doc. We had I think 10 companies on there that we want to do partnerships with, and a week ago that was the goal for Q2. So it was 2 weeks ago. In the first month of Q2, we achieved all 10 partnerships. So we're ahead of the curve on what we were trying to achieve. So now we're actually this might sound like a really big vision and dream, but internally we're taking pause and we're dreaming even bigger, which is why some of the stuff that Mike's alluding to isn't even on this roadmap. So it's
I got this incubator graphics today. It's so sick. Yeah. This is so gonna work. It's so funny when something's because Felix, to your point, something starts off as a dream, and then you actually get to the point where you're oh, we hit all our goals. Oh, actually everybody sees this, and there's actually hundreds of other companies that are in a spot where they're oh, we have similar values, but we don't have the same kind of customers. How can we bend over backwards to help make all of these people that were part of getting Think Agents and all the partners, how can we interoperate with this, and how can we start to provide our services? So we're seeing that flywheel. It's so awesome.
I love it. Congrats, by the way, on all the growth, all the partnerships. That's amazing to hear. I wanna bring it just back to the combination of what you two said over the last couple questions, just to land the idea a little bit more. I buy a Think Agent token today, the NFT. It's Magic Eden, right? Can I use it today, or do I still have to wait for some of this launch? I know it's it's a way to support the team early on and participate in the future. But real quick, is there something that I need to do? If I mint it already, I'm okay waiting till the next stage?
Cool. So today's utility is access to a token gated Discord where we're sharing information to that community. Some stuff we're sharing a lot publicly as well, but they get the front row seats. There's a builders channel in there where we have a bunch of people that participate because they actually want to build agents, and they're looking to monetize them in the future. So they're getting the front row seats. Part of participating in the Thinkubator is having an agent as well. So if you actually want to go through potentially, these are things that we're dialing in, and you're getting a little bit of the alpha here, but some structured programs around building agents and stuff like that is things we're exploring right now. But if you were more of a traditional Web3 participant, just hold the asset. You can get into the Discord to talk to other community members where people are excited about building things. There'll be a TGE. There'll be a snapshot prior to that. No action as a asset holder. When the TGE date or time comes, connect your wallet, claim your tokens. You'll have optionality to stake it. There's some bonuses. 10% of the people that own this are going to get a 10,000 Think bonus allocation that will be pre-staked for 3 months. And there's some more information we'll share over the forthcoming weeks around all of that. The one dynamic part, if you're listening to this and you're wanting to participate, we have a unique token staking mechanic where token ID number 1 will get you 5,000 Think token. ID number 2 will get you 4,999. Token number 34998. Like it cascades down. So the lower the ID number on the token, the more think tokens you'll actually receive at TGE. So that's really the big one. We're trying to make it as friction proof as possible for those that own these assets. We're going to airdrop you the agent. You'll when the Souls platform drops, my understanding is you'll connect a wallet. You'll have a onboarding experience where you'll pick the skins. You'll be able to help build out personalities, blah blah blah. For that, which will be quite intuitive, and we're working with people that have designed things that you've definitely integrate with, for example, apple.com, the website. We're working with people that design that website to make sure our user experience is very intuitive and best in class, to be honest. So no actions as of today. And then people, again, I've been in the Web3 space for too long now. People are going to be like, well, what's the value after the TGE? The think tank, which I alluded to, and it's on our roadmap, that will be exclusive to these first edition agents. So, if you're believing in the long-term vision, you're not just doing a token speculation play. We want to make sure that these initial assets are rewarded in perpetuity, and so that's the model around that. And there'll be more information, partners, and announcements coming in due course on that. But that's something that I'm really excited for, that we haven't seen across this ecosystem. And by this ecosystem, I'm talking about like Web3 in general, is where there's basketed shared rewards for a core group of users.
Awesome. Definitely sounds very, aligned with the Web3 ethos, even though most people do not actually even know what that is. It's just number go up. but no, Web3 ethos is precisely that, right? Having shared joint ownership, supporting teams, and building something bigger, better together. Internally, we say, build together, win together. Talk to me then about, the Meebits integration. When can I access the Meebit models or access my Meebit to do something? And what would that look like?
Yeah, so I can touch on that. So the relationship with Meebits partnership is actually a little bit unique in the sense that you guys have a set of models from the company that you're kind of licensing to us that we can use, so that if you do not own a Meebit asset, you can still participate and have one as an avatar or as a skin. And we're a big fan of the Meebit avatars in general. They actually work very well for this. It's a lot of them don't have mouths, so when you're talking, because we have voice to text and whatnot, so you can actually talk to your agent verbally, and it interacts really well. We demoed a bunch of different assets in the Web3 space and even offline, so that works. It was like our preferred partnership and face for this, so we were very happy to secure this partnership. And it was very timely. The acquisition had happened. We were dreaming about this. Suddenly it was like, cool, let's connect with the team that's steering this and see if they're really on the cutting edge of technology. And you guys absolutely were. So in addition to that, if you own a Meebit asset, the idea is that you'll be able to actually, have your agent as that asset, name it, give it the skin or the body. And so we're in the process of, starting to apply that kind of stuff. With part of being one of the first edition agent holders is that you'll be able to beta and get early access to the stuff as we test it. And we've got people from all different ecosystems in there. But Meebits is, we saw in all our promotional stuff, like front and center. It's, I might get a slap on the wrist for saying this, but I'll say my personal opinion, it's my preferred body, full body. It just works so well on all various fronts, from taking it from the browser experience into a metaverse experience. So as these personalized agents really become personalized, it's like a ChatGPT account or thread right now. It's like, you can give the thread a bit of a name. Can you give it a body? Can you give it an identity? How do you actually connect with this thing that you're actually sharing a lot of sensitive information with? and how do you, there's a whole psychology behind that. So, Mike, do you want to touch a little bit on the mind, body, soul side?
Yeah, for sure. Um, the thing that really matters here is that people want to be able to both own their digital assets and use them wherever they want, right? They want them to interoperate. They want things to be open source. They want it to work. They don't want to show up to somebody's game and I get to do only what you let me do. What we actually want to do is be able to like create our future. And like, Ready Player One gave us insights into that, like the movie. And essentially what we've done is we've designed these agents so that they can be put together seamlessly, kind of like how a website, you don't think about there's JavaScript code, HTML, CSS. They each kind of have a different role. One's like the logic, another one's the style, and another one's the animation and movement, right? Um, this system allows for these agents. So like the agent that you have on your computer can get wrapped up in your Meebits, and you could actually like be in a video game and you could be your Meebit, or you could have your Meebit as your sidekick next to you, and you two are going through dungeons together. And your Meebit has an understanding of who you are. You might like have a conversational relationship with it. Somebody might make it their girlfriend. Somebody might make it their like best friend that passed away, right? Like there's really like all kinds of use cases here of who people want to hang out with. And also like you might be also like taking on something that's much harder than you could do by yourself, and you want like an expert skilled person, and you might actually be able to be like, hey, I'll pay this agent to come do this with me, right? And so there's like we've got to get into this idea that like our digital and physical worlds are merging right now, and we already feel that, right? Like what's the difference between your phone and like, I mean, your phone is like your world, right? Like who you talk to, where you're going, like what you own, your money, it's your bank, it's your how you order groceries for a lot of people, it's how you order DoorDash. Your agent's coming along for the ride, and the relationship that you have with your agent and the place where the data is stored is like as critical as like choosing a life partner. Like literally, like where you live, who your life partner is, like what your agent ends up being, because it's going to be your sidekick more than your phone's your sidekick.
So your digital twin, I think you guys call it often in like the talks that you do and the write-ups. I just want to say we have one Meebit that we internally are in love with, that we call our girlfriend, and nobody from the teams have allowed to plug in any think agents to this because she's our girlfriend. But no, could definitely see it. Could definitely see it where I would love to see some of my Meebits going on internet adventures or just doing things for me. I think I saw recently on your Twitter account that agents will be able to do browsing, go and like get stuff for you on the internet. As we like kind of like wrap up the episode here, like the overall idea, can you give us a little bit of like a preview of what that's going to be like, how it works, and what like the wildest things you can think about that will happen from it?
Yeah, I mean, like right now, people are bummed that Grand Theft Auto just announced it's going to be another year, right? And they already announced, I think, that they were going to spend $1 billion. I'll bet you it goes 50% or 100% higher than that, because building these new game worlds is hard. And if you have somebody that's like writing every story of every mission, and then you've got an art director and 3D asset creators, like you start to see how much work it is to actually build a video game. Well, this whole thing is turning on its head right now, where AI agents, like imagine your AI agent is like a dungeon master or like a quest master for this game. And like literally a community could come together and be like, hey, we're creating a Meebits Dungeons and Dragons or a Meebits Grand Theft Auto or a Meebits like whatever that thing is. And like we already have like the template for what we call it, an INPC, right? Like an intelligent non-player character that can actually run these quests. And so like even the creating these multi-billion-dollar games is going to happen through these agents. And the agent, like because of our relationship with Futureverse, these agents actually have the power to like turn words into 3D objects, to describe a song and have that song appear in that other spot, and also to be able to like change outfits and stuff. And so literally worlds are going to grow through the missions that take place in digital land, and it's like already starting to happen. That's a pretty fun one.
It's just crazy to think about. I was, for me, when I first came to Web3, I think one of the things that I saw most powerful was that ability to kind of just explore frontier tech. But I never imagined it would come to this point where my potential digital twin or digital twins or agents could go and go on quests like you mentioned, or just menial tasks, really, right? Like I think most of what we don't like to do, or what we make fun of for like 9 to 5 jobs, is that you sit there and you send the exact same emails, or you do like the exact same queries and so on. That's what excites. It's funny because like that's what excites me. Like I don't want to be doing those things anymore. I just want to train my agent to do it, and I'm gonna get a really like geeky looking Meebit to do that for me. Um, but yeah, I never expected coming to this world, or even just acquiring the Meebits, that we'll be having this conversation just a few months removed from that, and that we as the Meebits can play such a integral role in these early stages, and hopefully as we go through the development of think agents and everything that you guys are building. I wanted to close out just by asking you guys, again, thinking of very basic for our audience who might not be super familiar with everything. I've listened to the podcast, hopefully have some questions, and by the way, come to the Discord, ask questions. We're happy to get those both at the Meebits Discord and at the Think Agents Discord. But if you could leave our audience with just one takeaway from this conversation, each of you, what will that be?
Felix, go first.
Yeah, I'm going to say your most valuable commodity is time, and AI is ultimately going to be a tool that, if used correctly, is going to give you time back. Like I'll give you a very quick example. I was talking to a C-suite executive at one of the largest protocols in the Web3 space, and they had a very simple ask. They said, "Can your product do this? I have a dozen people on Twitter that I follow and I bookmark, and I would love to wake up in the morning and just see a condensed version, like summary of what they had posted, because they're my read on the market and what's happening." And same with sentiment from like people posting about it. And we were like, "Yeah, we can do that today." And they're like jaw drop. And they're like, "Really?" And we're like, "Yeah, that's like a very easy capability." And they're like, "Okay, we clearly do not understand the scale." And I was like, "That's your limitation is your imagination." And that's a really hard thing to wrap your mind around. So it's really important to like bundle up things that are bite-sized chunks, because this landscape is just so vast, and we need to package it in ways that people can see value right in front of them and keep walking down the path. And that's the challenge. But to see someone who's like on the bleeding edge of tech ask something like that, and we say, "Yeah, that's a day one, like we can do things like that easily," it was fascinating, because we're deep in the trenches thinking like to where Mike's mind was, of building digital worlds, when people are like, "I just want compressed summaries out of Twitter." And it's like, yeah, we can do all that and everything in between.
I'm at that spot, right? Like I feel like there's so many things that I don't know, and chatting with our community from the last few weeks, like they don't know, and so we want to get them closer to having that understanding of what's possible. Because I agree with you, right? Time is your most valuable asset, and I'm gonna sound real old. I think we're all probably around the same age, but yeah, as I get older, a year removed from 40, I start to feel that where like, man, I wish I had done something different at some times with that time that I had. What about you, Mikey? What's
Yeah.
like your one takeaway from our conversation today for our Meebits audience?
Okay, I've been using AI as a core part of my job for over a decade now, right? So I'm working with algorithms and things like that every day. In that time, let's just go back to 5 years ago. 5 years ago, before ChatGPT, before GPT-3 came out, it's kind of like a kindergartner, right? Like you couldn't, they called it hallucinations. It could barely spell things right. It didn't really make sense. In the last 5 years, we've gone from a kindergartner that's getting a C minus to these models are literally above PhD level using Google. So like you get a PhD who's been trained using Google. And so that line in 5 years from that to that, and it's not slowing down, it's actually growing faster. And so we are entering a world in which like if you think back to like previous generations, like there was a time when people were laying railroads by hand. They would dig, they would use a pick, they would pound with a sledgehammer, and it took thousands and thousands of people. And then all of a sudden, a steam engine can replace them. And now it's like, okay, well, I'm not good at creating a railroad versus a machine. The same thing is happening with every single thing that happens in your mind. these things are so much more powerful than a person can do, that literally right now everybody has to choose, am I going to give myself the promotion to be the CEO of my agents? Am I going to take my own agency? Am I going to own it? And am I going to build out a thing that allows me to be like the guy who's running the steam engines or selling the steam engines or whatever, versus the person who's working for dollars per hour? And like, that's the revolution that's happening right now. And like, I think actually the people who are in Web3 and are already thinking about, how do I own my money? How do I own my assets? How do I own my community? They are like the people who are going to be first in line to say, how do I own my intelligence? And individuals are going to be competing with corporations. It's going to be really hard for corporations to keep up with how fast all of us can move. And my goal with this whole thing is just to literally create a movement and the basic technology to allow people to say, I want to own my intelligence. And then we as a community help them grow that. And like, you see how fast Web3 can, like, you see what Pump.Fun does for like making a bunch of coins, but literally it's just a game of musical chairs, right? It's like, get out of there before the last person turns off the music, is essentially what they're playing. Imagine what would happen if you had that same kind of energy around actually building shit that we want. Like, that's what we're talking about here. And like, if everybody sees this as like, oh, this is my opportunity to actually get in and be the person that was like the first person on Etsy for this kind of thing, or the first person selling on eBay for that sort of thing, right? Like, except we're not just talking about this niche internet thing that's happening. We're literally talking about the tool that's taking over every industry. It's consensus belief right now that AI is taking over every industry. Like, you, me, Felix, we should be the ones that build that. And we are, right? Like, literally we are at the spear's tip. And like, if we all just say like, hey, this is how we're doing it, just watch how fast the capital markets follow, and the builders and the engineers, right? Like, everybody's ready for a leader. And that's what we're doing. We're leading the way into the intelligence age.
I love that. Leading the way into the intelligence age. I like that a lot. That's a good motto.
I'm glad to be doing it with you.
What's that?
I'm glad to be doing it with you.
Podcast.
It's gonna be the title. All right. Well, where can people find you on Twitter? What's the best way?
Think Agents. Is it Think Agents AI or Think Agents? Let's see here.
It's just Think Agents on Twitter. The website is thinkagents.ai. The Discord is the usual Discord /thinkagents. And if you look up on Magic Eden, it's Think Agent Bundle is the asset that we were referring to earlier. And most of our communication, like, unless you own the asset and you're in the token gated community, it's predominantly through Twitter. Once it's kind of carved in stone, it ends up on the website. But Twitter's our most current information channel.
Awesome. And personally,
I'm at Mikey Anderson.
And I'm at leftclicksave or felix.eth.
Let's go. I love this conversation. We've only done a few episodes of the Meebits podcast, and it's mostly been kind of just catching up with all friends, with Matt and John, and those have been really awesome. But this is the first one that we do that's purely educational and really helping us understand, and the community understand, what's being built at the bleeding edge of tech, of everything really, of intelligence and next generation. So I want to thank you both for your time, for sharing and answering my very basic questions, and for the partnership between Meebits and Think Agents. We're very, very excited. We have 4 pillars of Meebco: art and provenance, fun utility, tech innovation, and that's where this lands. And then community first is our 4th pillar. So really, really excited to have Think Agents be part of our 3rd pillar. And thank you to everybody that tuned in today. I hope that you guys are also just using the opportunity to learn everything that you can in this new age of information and intelligence. And we'll see you all in the next podcast. Thanks.